Welcome back to r/neighbors from hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community. And without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. The first one is titled HOA Chopped Down My Trees. I got revenge by buying every piece of property in the neighborhood and I disbanded the HOA. I have always been a relatively quiet person, so when I was pushed to exact a year-long mission of revenge against my HOA, I had simply had enough. I was an only child raised by two military professionals who were very strict and full of strong moral values and hard work. I'm a pretty smart, I'm humble and rarely mentioned it, and hard-working person. I busted my ass to get to where I am now. I graduated from high school a year early and went straight to college, and from there I immediately jumped into medical school. I was the youngest person in my class of med school grads. After years of residencies and experience, I built my way up to being a very prestigious orthopedic surgeon, even opening my own practice. I managed to save up a lot of money and started the process of purchasing my first real house. I found a truly beautiful home surrounded by woods in a handsome and well-kept neighborhood. It had tall ceilings, great landscaping, and most of all, a thick and luscious growth of trees and plants behind the home past the main area of the backyard. Several yards of this wooded area were still mine according to the property line that I had professionally marked before moving in. The neighborhood was only about a third of the way finished and was relatively new, but several of the homes in the front were occupied, so I purchased a home that was further back into the neighborhood, closer to the construction. It did not take but a week or two of living there before I started receiving these crappy letters from the HOA for the silliest problems. One of them was that there were some small weeds growing in front of the mailbox. Later that same week, they sent a letter saying that the house was painted the wrong color. I was the first person to live here. How is that possible? When I was building the home and given the list of paint options, were they not already approved by the HOA? Absolutely ridiculous. So I had to pay for the home to be repainted, which it's a super huge house, so that was not cheap. After painting the home, I got yet another letter, this time stating that the mailbox was the wrong color now. What? Okay, so I painted that, but now it's the wrong style of mailbox. I was so confused at that point. Shortly after moving in, I decided to have some young pine trees planted along the border of my home, facing the house to my left. I was trying to create some divide among the properties without putting up a fence. I just thought it would look nicer. No surprise though, I was sent another letter. They hated the trees apparently and said that they needed to be removed. I was busy and did not really have a lot of time to have them removed properly. I was hoping that if I called the company that planted them, that maybe they could take them out without killing them. Perhaps I could even get some money back because trees are actually wicked expensive. Having all 8 of those young pine trees planted cost me around $45,000. Less than 48 hours had passed since they told me to remove the pine trees. I woke up to the sound of chainsaws at 8 AM on a Saturday. What the hell is that? The HOA had taken it upon themselves to remove the trees for me and hired a crew of 5 guys to just come out and cut them all down. I was beyond pissed. I barely had time to put on some sleeping pants before I ran outside with no shoes or shirt. I shouted at them to stop what they are doing, and they informed me that they were hired by the HOA to do this task and that they were told not to listen to me. I was shaking with anger. The level of disrespect these people are showing. Why are these a-holes harassing me? I just don't understand what is going on. Not only am I just blatantly sick of their crappy attitudes towards me and my home, but I feel like it is borderline bullying after a point. I have always been told that there is not much point in fighting an HOA in court. I know that there have been plenty of people who have won against shameful HOAs, but I just feel like it would be a bigger waste of time and money. So why not get some revenge in a different way? I started looking into our state's HOA laws and policies and read up on the paperwork I had signed when purchasing the home. According to all of the information that I dug up, this HOA is one that can only stay standing if over 50% of the neighborhood agrees to it. This could work. I am only one of I think about 15 residents, so maybe if I just buy up some of the unsold homes, I can turn myself into the majority owner and disband the HOA. I set my plan in motion and joined forces with a real estate buddy of mine, getting the ball rolling on my ultimate revenge. I started purchasing the homes one by one before they even came out onto the market. So I did not attract their attention with the same name on each property. I was using alias names or the names of my businesses. It was certainly a sketchy situation to be in at the time, but well worth the risk. Meanwhile, even as I am scooping up these homes, I could not help but be sick of the HOA harassing me regularly. It even got to a point where I was not staying at the house anymore because I was so tired of their letters and fees for the smallest things every week. The pettiest fine I think I have gotten had to be the tiny weeds in the flower beds or in front of the mailbox. Like, how are they even seeing these little clovers that are popping up in the flower beds? They even fined me for putting up a flag supporting my college's football team because it was not an approved flag. It took me nearly a year to purchase enough homes to get my perfect revenge. The main annual HOA meeting arrived and a few people, I'm assuming, were having similar issues with feeling harassed and constantly watched. Many of them expressed the same issues of concern regarding the petty fees and excessive fines for the tiniest things. The board members continued to have this air of "we are better than all of you" BS and just casually moved on from one issue to the next without ever answering anything. By the end of it all, I was even more sick of these a-holes than I had been originally, which is really a tough task because I dislike them pretty badly, and there was a clear air of frustration and anger among the residents at the meeting, and I was not disappointed by their reaction when I busted out my ultimate revenge. My papers were in a folder full of the deeds and other documents needed to prove that I owned enough homes in the neighborhood to tell them to pound sand. I spoke up and opened my folder, but could not even get one word out as the lead board member cut me off. He began saying that the meeting was finished at this point and there was not enough time to hear me out. I looked at the clock and saw that there was another 10 minutes till the hour, so I chose to ignore him. I actually would like to take a vote on the board members while we have so many residents here. The board's faces turned towards me, looking pale and confused. It is January, which according to the documents I signed when purchasing my home, this is when we vote on the board members, is it not? They continued to seem confused and even the lead member started stuttering. I don't think that's right, he said as he shifted awkwardly in his seat. Oh, but it is. I made direct eye contact with this man and continued to remove the deeds from the homes I have purchased and laid them on the table before me. As a matter of fact, I would like to vote that the HOA board be disbanded. An immediate surge of murmurs erupted from the other residents and several people started chiming in and agreeing with me. The entitled folks behind their long desk could not believe it. "Sir, there's no way for you to disband us. The vote is only for choosing board members, not deciding if the HOA stays together." They started rising from their chairs to leave when I told them I was not finished. Actually, you are wrong. If a majority owner decides that the HOA should be disbanded, then they have no choice. The leader in the middle laughed, but stopped quickly when he saw all of the dozens of papers in front of me. Here is all of the deeds to the houses that I own in this neighborhood, making me the majority owner. Therefore, I want the HOA disbanded today. You would have thought that I just won the Super Bowl. Dozens of residents cheered and came to pat me on the back in congratulations for defeating the big bad HOA. The fact that there were this many people wanting to get rid of them when the neighborhood had only been established for a year is ridiculous. And this just goes to show you that if you wanna be a damn tyrannical HOA, you should expect someone to stand up to you at some point. You cannot just abuse power and think that people will sit idly by as you harass them and make their lives a frustrating mess. To this day, I have sold those extra revenge homes I purchased, except for mine of course, and live happily in my beautiful house that is no longer governed by some crappy power-hungry HOA board. And yeah guys, I would give this story definitely a 10 out of 10 when it comes to HOA revenge. Although I gotta say, obviously for a normal person, enacting this kind of revenge is not really possible, because who has the money to just buy all the properties around you? Nevertheless, insane revenge. And if you enjoy the HOA revenge stories, then please don't forget to post some star emojis in the comments if you want to support my channel. Thank you so much in advance. The next one is titled Revenge on the Manager. I was hired by a company as an assistant manager, a job I was well qualified for. The owner is rarely on site as he owns several businesses. The company is run by a GM who hired me, but who works mostly second shift and who I therefore would have little daily contact with, since I was hired for first shift. I was assigned to Eva for training. Eva was a manager and had been with the company for 5 years. I trained with her for a few days and then I was on my own, though she and I had overlapping shifts and would see each other a few days a week. We were friendly but not close. After a few months I was doing well at my job and had even gotten some new procedures adopted to help boost sales. Eva began to act resentful. She would correct me for small things and took any opportunity to remind me that she had trained me. It did not matter to me, she was not my boss, I reported to the GM. So I mostly just ignored her. What I didn't know though was that Eva was not just tied with the GM, but they had worked together at another place for 10 years before this one. One day at shift end, GM asks to talk, tells me it's not working out, says I'm making mistakes at 6 months that I shouldn't be. I ask for examples. A few of them were petty matters Eva had mentioned, but most of them were just not true. I tried to argue, but it was clear that I was set up. I decided to reach out to the owner since I had nothing to lose. He was sympathetic but said he relies on GM to run the business and had to support her decision. Then he mentioned that if things hadn't been so bad between me and Eva, it probably could have been worked out. That is when I knew she was behind me being fired from a job I needed, really liked and was making great money, and so I vowed to get revenge. I started searching her online info. In less than an hour I had uncovered gold thanks to one of those pay services. About 3 months prior, Eva was arrested and charged with DWI in a neighboring state. The court records showed she had a hearing coming up in a few weeks. That was enough to get her fired. It affected a professional license she and I had to have as management. Per state law, license holders must report criminal charges to the licensing board, and in the case of a DWI arrest, licenses are typically suspended pending trial. I called the owner and told him what I discovered. It was news to him. I guess since it was out of state, Eva was keeping it secret. Maybe she was hoping to get let off the charges. The next day though, the owner called and said Eva was fired. He thanked me for telling him about her DWI, apologized for how I was fired and offered me Eva's position and salary. He asked me to come in the next morning to meet with him and to cover Eva's shift. So I accepted. That alone was sweetly satisfying revenge, but what happened next was the icing on the cake. I got to work extra early, met with the owner and GM, and we all agreed to start fresh. Cool, it was still an hour before opening, and I was in the back of the place when I heard the front door chime. When I came out a few minutes later, Eva was there, tears flowing, begging the owner for her job back. She obviously did not know I was there because when she saw me, her whole body seized and her shocked expression was priceless. I walked right by her, staring her down with a crappy grin, and went outside. Eva came out a minute later and would not make eye contact. As she walked away, I said, "Good luck on the 23rd. That was her court date. The next one is titled Garage Revenge. Mechanics are notorious for not maintaining their personal daily drivers, but the significant other's car will always be well maintained because you don't want a broken car and an angry wife. Molvo the Volvo may be a little old, 02 S60 Turbo, but it gets all of its service done at one garage and has for the last 60,000 miles all on time with the owner's manual. On the last oil change, the cartridge filter cap was tightened too much, fusing the cap to the block with the force of 1000 gods. The service writer tried to sell me a new cap and repair has to air chisel the plastic cap off. I laughed and asked to talk to the GM, general manager or owner. I told the GM that this shop has done all my services for the last 60k miles. If this was improperly installed, the fault is on them. Of course, the manager still tried to say it was not their fault and refused to fix the problem. This got me mad. I said, "It is obvious that you're not going to make this right," and walked over to the wall with the business license, Bureau of Auto Repair certification, etc. I started writing all the business information down on the back of the estimate sheet I was given by the service writer so I can contact the owner. While doing this, I told GM to get my car out of the bay and give me my keys. The tech had drained the oil but refilled it to proper level before letting the vehicle leave the shop. The manager then walks up with my keys and a bill for 15 minutes of shop time and 5 quarters of oil. I looked at him and said, "Really? You want to be like this?" And the GM replied, "Yeah, I did not charge the 1 hour minimum, so feel lucky." What a douchebag. So, Molvo the Volvo and I go to the dealership. I explain what happened at my regular garage and tell the Volvo mechanic to fix it proper, about $400. Now that Molvo is fixed, I get to work. I did some digging and found the owner of the shop's phone number. I explained to the owner that I would have no choice but to bring a lawsuit against the company to reclaim damages and legal fees because the GM was not willing to fix a problem that was caused by a technician at the shop. After legal fees and costs, this $400 fix could cost the shop thousands in court. The owner cooled me down and was on my side. I meet him for lunch the next day and walk him through what happened. He apologized for the problem and we went to the garage after lunch. The moment we walked in, the GM walks up and greets the owner. "Hey boss, how are?" Gets cut off by the owner saying, "I'm not your boss anymore. Go in the office, wait, and I will tell you why." The owner writes me a check for the dealership bill, refunds me the repair bill and hands me a ticket book full of free oil changes, a transmission flush, tire rotations, etc. He says, "I've been in this business in this town for 40 years. I take great pride in my company's reputation and hope you keep doing business with us." I reply, "You got my business for life because you made things right." On my way out, I stop and arrange a service appointment for my other car and can hear the owner ripping into the GM. GM walks out of the office and as he passes me, mumbles something I could not hear. The next time I brought a car in the service, writer told me that the GM had to move away from this town because nobody would hire him. Local business owners here talk a lot and the shop owners let everyone know that GM was dishonest to customers and could possibly damage their reputation with his "not my fault" attitude. I was an automotive tech for almost 10 years but recently changed to a less physically demanding job. I know my way around a car and keep my old Beta alive with duct tape and hope. Molvo the Volvo is maintained by the garage, wife's orders. It ensures that maintenance is done on time and keeps me from sleeping on the couch. I also know my shop liabilities and how the process works to legally recover money from a bad repair job, since I have helped customers with cars that other mechanics have messed up. The motivation for GM to not eat the repair was commission pay for services. If the shop messes up, it comes out of the bonus pay. That and he is a douchebag. I do admit I was very unprofessional with the owner on the phone, should have calmed down more before calling. I threatened legal action because if the GM told me to piss off, I expected the same from the owner. Owner told me GM was a problem employee but would not go into it, so he already had 2 strikes. The owner also met me for lunch because if I caused a scene, it would not be at his shop. That and around lunch, half the cops in the area are in or near the place. Owner is a smart guy. I have apologized to him a few times already for how I acted. I was mad, but that is no excuse. If anyone in this story is a hero, it is the shop owner. When someone is bored in the morning, it seems like they chase their own tail, right, Disney? Disney. Chase your own tail, love. So yeah, Ripe Stars, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the Disney footage. And by the way, that's not a real bonsai tree, but it looks nice, even though it's fake. And Ripe Stars, with this we have reached the end of the video. However, if you still cannot get enough of my content, then I would highly suggest to check out my endless binge watch playlist, which will soon show up in the left corner of the screen. In addition, I would really appreciate it if you could not only subscribe to the channel, but also turn on the bell notifications, which you can do by clicking on the little bell icon right next to the subscribe button. This will help my channel tremendously, and this will make sure that you don't miss any of my videos. Furthermore, if you want to see additional Ripe content that I don't post on YouTube, then I would suggest to head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube for more than 50 exclusive videos that you will not see anywhere else. Thank you so much for your amazing daily support, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.